Hey guys, welcome to the rebirth of Conscious Convos. This is something that I used to do weekly. I would kind of, share with you guys what I speak about in class. And every day in my classes, my meditation classes, I speak about, whatever lesson I'm experiencing in life. And we do a practice around those teachings. And so the conversation aspect of it, the Dharma, I'm here to share with all of you. So you don't have to attend my classes. You can just tune in here. And so what I talked about last night in my Reiki class was a remembering of who we really are. And a lot of times we forget, something that I've been working with personally for many years is remembering that I'm worthy, specifically worthy of love. I was working with a healer, a good friend of mine, and she helps you release trapped emotions. And she told me, Laresia, you're holding on to these feelings of unworthiness, and you've been holding on to them since the womb. And, the moment that she told me that, it made perfect sense. My birth mom, she knew she was giving me up. So, from that instant, just even being inside of her, I picked up on the energy of being unwanted. And so it's something that I've struggled with for many, many years. And, I think it's why we find the work that we do, for me at least. I'm so passionate about these self-compassion practices so that when these feelings of unworthiness come up, I can soothe them. I understand, it's a natural part of this being human and to be there for myself. I've also learned, to stop, and I'm still learning this, to stop looking for that sense of worthiness in something outside of myself. But it's very interesting, this idea of remembering who we really are. It's really easy to forget that, especially in LA. I get so caught up in the dating world, or the lack of dating in my life. And, these feelings of unworthiness come up. They're triggered by different things. Or even remembering who you are. Perhaps you're a very kind person and you've had, a moment of being rude, or perhaps normally you're a very peaceful person and you've had a moment of stress. Or, maybe you're a very joyful person and you've had a moment of being in a mood. Sometimes we forget our true nature, this love that we are, this peace that we are. And so the practice was, resting in stillness and, coming back home to yourself. And we worked with the phrase, may I remember who I really am, And we get so fixated on these ideas also of, the way we think we should be, the way that our lives should look. In LA it's different, but for me, watching all my friends I went to college with on social media getting married already, some having babies, suffering arises when our preferences aren't met, especially when we start comparing. And in my mind, my preference, of course, would be to be in a loving relationship and all of the things, the family. But in this moment, that's not where I am. And so suffering arises, and then when we begin to compare ourselves, comparison is just a recipe for suffering. So honoring where we are, remembering who we are, and accepting all of it, loving all of it, that's where the medicine is. And so it was very beautiful. I had a very profound, magical experience in Bali right away. Within 24 hours of me being there, I met these two beautiful souls. And they both reminded me of my worthiness, something that I forget all of the time in LA. And, this one person right away, within 24 hours of being in Bali, this person had only known me for about an hour and told me that I was one of the most profound women he'd ever met in a long time. And just to hear that, it's like your parents always tell you things, or your friends tell you things, you're an amazing person, or you're this or you're that, and you kind of hear it, but you don't really absorb it or accept it. And so it was so interesting for me to hear someone say that to me. And it kind of startled me at first, but then, I was like, yeah, I am, remembering this about myself. And then another beautiful soul that I met would tell me, I'm so beautiful on the inside and the outside, and, was surprised to hear that I struggled with unworthiness. So it was very nice what I took away from Mama Bali, as many people do. I learned right away from her. It was a remembering of who I really was. Of course, I'm worthy, I'm enough, all of the things, and it's just working with coming back to that, and being kind to yourself in the process. So I'll leave you with this inspiring quote that I think relates to today's teachings. Rumi. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So it's interesting for me because that's exactly what I'm doing. I've built all of these, barriers around love because I'm afraid. I don't know what I'm afraid of. I'll have to investigate. Oh, I know what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of being alone, afraid of being abandoned, which is, that same thing. Those feelings from my birth mother wanting to give me up, losing my mother that raised me. My only family left is my father, who's 83. So my sense of security, it's not very strong. It's not very big. And so I'm learning to work with that, Life is uncertain. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So all of these feelings that arise, my fear, the unworthiness, all of the things, caring for yourself in the midst of it all, and being kind to yourself, and coming back home to yourself and remembering who you really are. So thank you guys.